Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today accompanying this prestigious group of panelists who are going to share their knowledge on certain topics of interest from a leadership perspective. For that, we have a set of predetermined questions to ask our panelists. And in order to adjust the time that we have available, we are going to ask if you have any questions, take note of those questions and ask them after we finish with the Q&A session, okay?
So during that time where we were shut down and still having to work because we were in a remote work structure, employees certainly became keenly aware of the fact that family is important, that health is important, and then coming out of the pandemic, they realized that they have a number of other options than just coming into the office. Prior to the pandemic, remote work at the city of West Palm Beach was not a concept that we even discussed. We found ourselves during the pandemic of having to put a remote work structure in place so that we can keep the city moving.
Thank you. I'm not an economist, but one of the things I believe is happening right now with this economy is just, and slow consequences from the pandemic. And like, Ms. Johnson says, I mean, the pandemic has teach us, a hard lesson, but I think we will never forget. I was reading some statistics on 75% of Latino business had closed permanently their business after the pandemic.
The beauty of remote work is that you can attract people that are not local. And considering that they are not local, they probably, if you are a local business, they probably don't know about your business, and they know anything about your business. So one of the recommendations to attract employee in this challenge market, probably everywhere you go, you will see the we are hired signs on store. I would say build a strong online brand.
So I'm an educator at heart. I started my career as a teacher, and there's this popular meme or saying that says, everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten. And I believe that to be completely true. And everything I learned about leadership and working with others, I learned in teaching. Teaching was actually my very first leadership job. I was the leader of my classroom, the leader of my students. I managed them, I helped them, I served them. And so when I think about collaborative work, Ms. Johnson talked a lot about the heart in the work and the service, and caring and connection is the #1 thing that I feel will help or will ensure a collaborative environment.
Thank you for the question. So I think technology and education has pros and cons. It has both. Some of the positive that it has brought is that all of a sudden we see an increase in parental involvement because they don't necessarily need to get in a car and attend that meeting. There's options. Not only there's options, but even when the communication, whether it's parents or any stakeholders, now translations are at our fingertips. So currently enrolled in our school system, and this is pretty accurate, we have about 30,000.
Thank you. So pre-pandemic, we spent most of our time in the hiring process just trying to identify the best candidate to do the job. We weren't spending time in the feel-good issues, wondering, what's your work-life balance? How do you prefer to work? Those were not things that we thought about pre-pandemic. I mean, you had some of the progressive businesses like your Googles and your Yahoos that created environments that mirrored, what the employees actually liked. But for the most part, that wasn't the way that we spent our time hiring. And so for me, the pandemic has provided some really great opportunities for us to identify
So this is a challenging question for me, specifically as I work at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, and we're a little inflexible because we're government, but we're learning to be a little bit more flexible. But I'd be remiss just to talk about one generation. I had the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Jim Johnson from the University of North Carolina, and he's a remarkable gentleman, and he talks about the grain and the browning of America and such. And one of the things is that right now we're in a situation that we have 5 generations working in the workplace. And if you look at large organizations or small businesses, you see that, right? And we see that diversity right here in this room, even just on this panel, in regards to the various ages and such.
Thank you for being here with us tonight. We love you guys. You know, let's keep working together and have a great day and the rest of the evening.